What I'd like to show you now is jump over to the vulnerability response function. So if I just open up my vulnerability here, first let's take a look at the vulnerable items. So vulnerable items actually have the ability to show what vulnerability exists on what asset in your CMDB. Now, if you look at a server, and a server can have, if I scan that server with my vulnerability scanner, it's going to provide this information and it's going to say this system has these particular vulnerabilities on it. However, I may need to address those vulnerabilities individually. So if I scan a system and it has 5 vulnerabilities on it, I'm going to create 5 vulnerable items within the ServiceNow platform. With these vulnerable items, I can evaluate what type of information is available for those particular vulnerable items. So I go and I look for my SAP items that I had noted in earlier. I'll just type in SAP, and here's my load balancer. So what I can do is I can actually just show all the matching items for that. And now I see all of the open vulnerable items that are on that particular asset. Now, looking at that content, I can see some of the risk scores that are related to it. Now, risk score calculator is going to help you determine which ones I need to act on. I can use these to be assigned into groups so that it get acted on quicker, or maybe I can do it based on the configuration item itself or the vulnerability. So I'm just going to open one of these up here. And you can see in here, not only do I know what the configuration item is, I have a link to the actual dependency view. I can see my risk score. Now, again, the risk score is calculated because I'm using information based on the configuration item. And so I have my business impact and the actual CVE coming across. And if I look at the CVE information, I can see exactly what that CVE is and what its actual risk score was. I can use that information to validate if this is something I really need to be concerned with. With that, I can then see that this was associated to a group already. Now this is where you start putting logic in because I don't want to manage each individual vulnerability by itself. You can have thousands, if not millions, of records coming across as vulnerabilities, which becomes a daunting administrative task. So what we do as part of this process is we incorporate these into groups so that if it's a specific type of an asset or if it's a specific type of a if it's a specific type of asset or a specific type of vulnerability or a combination thereof, I can look for those things and set filters around that so that if a particular item comes in, I can address it and get those particular vulnerabilities addressed independently as part of one overall group. Or I can send them all out for remediation as one step. Looking for orchestration packs, you can actually start to automate how the actual patching of these systems is done. So as you can see here in this particular vulnerability group, I've actually got a whole list of all of the assets that are going to be related to this. So because of this, I can now say that, okay, go ahead and create my my change and patch these systems, and it'll pull out all of the information and send that into a change request. So now that my operations team then can go and apply that patch and come back and state that all of these items were completed. Additionally, you can choose to defer in here as well. So if there's a specific item that I cannot remediate for whatever reason, I can go in and defer that particular item for a specific set of time, whatever that time frame may be. We'll just say 9:30 here. But then I can give some information as to why. I'm just going to say risk accepted, and then I can put in some comments. Need vendor approval. So now that one item has been deferred, and we can evaluate, okay, maybe at a later time we can come back at 9:30 and verify that that has been addressed with the vendor, or does it just fall back into my standard process where I'm going to patch every 30 days or every 2 weeks, whatever the process is per my policy. Being able to manage and report on that information is extremely important. So if I go back to my overall dashboard, this is where we start to pull in the data related to my incident response process. I get looking at it, what type of incidents I'm having, how well am I doing against them, am I bringing my containment time down, am I identifying them quicker? I'm capturing more information and trending analysis so I can see how well I'm doing as an organization. Looking at what's going on in my environment. Having this different content available, and this is one of my favorites here, is we look at this business services tree map, and if I could look at my victim status here, I like this one, I can see which systems or which affected resources are actually having the most problem. Maybe this is something this is a point of sale system. Maybe it's really close to the window, so they're trying to continuously get to it because it's a wireless system. Or if I look at people and change that around from a victim status perspective, well, Joe employee seems to be continuously getting hit for reasons that I don't understand, so we're going to go out and have a discussion. Is it something where he sits, or is he a high-ranking official, or what is the reason that this person seems to keep having security incidents related to them? Different conversations I can have to help me solve the problem proactively. System hardening, this gives me the ability to look at what type of vulnerabilities I have. Am I compliant with my configurations? How are those vulnerabilities being addressed? So I can do my trending analysis, but I can also, more importantly, see how long have things been sitting out there. Hey, that vulnerability was discovered 240 days ago. That's something I need to have a conversation with, because that's totally out of policy for being patched within 30 days. So having this information and being able to report on it is key, especially when it comes to a security operations perspective. Thank you again, and I look forward to our next discussion.